How's it going, YouTube? Comics today with another video, and today, guys, what to bring to you is a complete guide to Striker. Now, this is going to be a different guide than usual because this is going to be leaning toward the OCG side of things when we're playing on Master Duel, and it's very different, as you can probably tell, because we have 2 Engage, 2 Anchor, and then we also just have 1 Kagari. But how do you play Striker with 1 Kagari? Now, I had to play Eternal format, and this was one of my favorite formats of all time, and we only had 1 Kagari, but we also only had 1 Anchor. So it was very difficult, and it was very different. But there's still many ways that you can play with that. There's a lot of different ways that you can use the deck to kind of mitigate that and really make sure that you're still ahead of the game, even though you have the extra Engage. Sometimes it can feel a little daunting when you only have 1 Kagari. So hopefully today we can kind of get rid of a lot of those fears and anxieties when you're playing the deck. Also, we're going to talk about my going second list at the end of the video, as well as my going first list. So I hope that you're ready and excited for those. Without further ado, let's go right into the first scenario here about playing with Striker. What are the cards you have to play to be successful? Well, the first one that we're going to talk about here is Hercules Base. Hercules Base is very, very important. For the reason being is that you can recycle 3 Striker cards in your graveyard, and then you're able to go ahead and get your Kagari back, which is very nice. You can also just loop your Hercules Base a lot, which is really cool too, because it allows you to cycle back both of your engages if they're in the graveyard, and it gives you a better chance to draw them. Not only that, it also allows you to go ahead and research that again with the Shizuku in the end phase. I really do like this a lot though, because we used to attach Hercules Base to Bomber, and then you could attack 2 monsters. They would take damage equal to the attack points of the monsters, and then you'd also draw a card per monster destroyed because of the Herc Base, because it also allows you to attack twice. So it's a very good card in just generic use. It's usually just like a brick for us, but it still has a very, very good usage. The monster that it targets also cannot attack directly. So this is something that we used to do to just not die, was just target the monster that's the biggest thing on the board. And it's essentially the same thing as like hitting it with like a fog blade, right? Like it just can't attack. So this thing just allows it to not attack directly. So it does come up here and there, and it's just kind of like a really 5-head thing to do, and just kind of keep in the back of your mind, because it will come up if you are playing it. I've seen it come up multiple times, and when it does, it's really funny. It's one thing that I definitely enjoy. So there are a couple things though about Master Duel that aren't perfect. Of course, everything's going to have its flaws here and there. So the first thing is that the Shizuku multi-role interaction doesn't work right now, and that's unfortunate. It's just not coded correctly. You might notice that. So essentially what I mean by that is that you can't go Shizuku search Shark Cannon, use Shark Cannon, and then reset it with multi-role, even if you change your auto to on, which what I mean by that is in the bottom right hand corner when you're dueling, you'll see a little button that says auto. You can switch that and make it from just an automatic triggering of your effects to like a more manual, but it still won't let you do this, which is kind of crazy unless you summon your Shizuku before you activate the role, is what I've been hearing. I don't really like that at all. The fact that that interaction doesn't work really hinders the deck though, which is kind of unfortunate, because there's a lot of Elwick right now, and if you're not able to go ahead and search Shark Cannon, then banish a card, and then reset it, it can really hinder you. So just keep that in the back of your mind, whereas it's only going to let you use your multi-role first, and then you're going to be allowed to use your Shizuku. So that's kind of a problem, but it's just something, again, to just kind of keep in mind when you're playing, that you no longer can do that, at least right now. So I'm going to talk about a couple ways that you really can just kind of mitigate the issue with Kagari around your engages. So the one thing that you can do is you can go ahead and reset your engage to your multi-role, and then go ahead and search the other one with Shizuku, which is pretty nice. This just allows you to be able to come back the next turn and really be able to use both of those engages to get to your Hercules Base, to recycle your Kagari. Then your Kagari can go ahead and then get back your copy of your engage from the graveyard, and then obviously one would be banished there. So here you're going to see this, so the Kagari's in the grave. You'll go ahead and search your Hercules Base, then just keep looping your cards, which is always another way to make sure that you're staying in the game, that your Kagari's really being the most value. So when you're looking into the mirror match though, this is something that I want to mention. Since you only have 1 Kagari, if you're familiar with things being summoned properly, if you use Ray's effect to summon Kagari, they cannot Shark Cannon summon your Kagari out of your graveyard. So you have to make sure that if anything that you have control over in that game, it's that when you summon Kagari, you're using Ray's effect to summon her, because you don't want your opponent to just get a free Kagari summon. And this is the biggest thing in Eternal format that you just had to know, was you have to summon your Kagari with Ray effect, or else it can really blow back bad at you, because their shark cannons turn into essentially engages, which is pretty crazy. And you got to keep that one in the back of your mind. Like, you have to know that. So this is another one too, is that if you open engage, you really want to be mindful that a lot of what you're playing against usually can't kill you, especially if you have max C. So you want to make sure that you have your engage in hand, and that you just go ahead and go end phase with your Shizuku and then add the second copy of engage. I never just rip the engage if I open it. I usually, unless I really, really need it, because then that's just a whole different scenario, right? But if I have the power over it, then I'll just keep the one in my hand and just add the other one. Because at that point, you can go activate engage, Kagari, activate engage, and then you can get that base along with your other cards. And then you can successfully loop, because this kind of tests the waters for you, because they won't know about the first engage, right? So when you activate an engage, if they interact with it, even if they ash it, that's perfect, because it doesn't matter, right? Because you have two more potentially. So basically, you always want to make sure that you can get the Herc base before you start activating all of the engages, just in case you summon that Kagari and it gets Veilered. You don't want it to be gone, and you don't want it to be a situation where you can't get to a Herc base, because the base has to be sent to the grave by a card effect to get the effect to recycle. So you want to make sure that you have a way to it, and that you also have a way to activate your engages safely. So I always just activate the first one and kind of see what's going on, if they have Ash or like what have you, you know. And then I'll activate like the second one and like try to go for like Hayate or something and see if they interact with you. But they'll probably just wait for Kagari. But you want to make sure that you have the Herc base on standby, just so you can go ahead and recycle that Kagari, so you're not really locked out of the game at any point. Very, very important though. Another really, really great recursion card that a lot of people just don't know about. By the way, this card gets gigantic. Amphibious Swarm Ship and Blow Whale. This card's really insane. Gains 200 for each Link monster in the graveyards. So I had one earlier. It was like 5,400, which is pretty cool. If this card is destroyed, you can target one Link 3 or lower monster in your graveyard. In either graveyard, rather, and special summon it, which is just a free summon of Kagari, really, which is really nice. The other thing is, if a Link 3 or lower monster on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card's in your graveyard, banish this card from your graveyard, then destroy a card on the field. So it does have a lot of very good application. I love this card. It really does well. When you have one Kagari, this is another thing that we just find kind of mandatory in the deck, that you just really have to run to make sure that you're getting the most value out of your Kagaris, and you're able to go ahead and recycle them very adequately. Just another very, very genuinely good card. The next thing, don't play Desires. Don't do it. It's not good. Do not do this, please. You have 2 Widow Anchor. It's already really bad in the TCG if you banish like 2 of your anchors off Desires, right? I know you've been there if you play Striker. It sucks. Imagine having only 2 and ripping Desires, right? Like, it's detrimental, and your anchors are what really carry the deck. So you really want to make sure that you don't play Desires, because we have Max C, we have Upstart, we have Chicken Game, we have a lot of cool things in our arsenal right now that we can use. So please don't use Desires. This card will only hinder you. Do not do it. The next thing is that Eagle Booster is mandatory. You have to play this card. There's so many Striker Mirrors going on right now. And so the best card in the Striker Mirror will always be Booster. And you can always do cool things, like if they try to like normal summon Alistair, and then they try to like use Invocation, and then you chain Booster to Alistair, so it cannot be affected by the card, because it's only affected by its own card effects. So you can use Booster offensively, kind of funny, as you can defensively. But in the mirror match, this card's very, very important. I need you to just play at least one. Trust me, it's worth it. Just do it. It's very, very good, especially when you want your Kagaris to resolve, because they're really important when you only have one. Booster is very, very important to have in the deck. The next thing, this is my blind second list. This is something that I'm very happy with. We're going to be kind of breaking this down a little bit here. So we have the triple maxi, of course, because, you know, that card is just insane. I've kind of wanted to switch it out, honestly, with like Nibiru, because like it kind of works out the same way. There's a lot of people right now, if you've been playing the ladder, especially when you hit plat like me right now, there isn't a lot of times where people will just play into the maxi. But like people are so scared of Maxi that if you're literally just playing like Nibiru, people like forget about Nibiru in light of Maxi, which is pretty wild. Because if they summon like once, like special summon once, and like you don't Maxi them, a lot of times they just think that they're good and like they're good to go, and then you just Nibiru them. So I've been making that decision in my head, debating if I want to do that or not, because we have more ways in the deck now to be able to clear the Nibiru token, so it's really not even that bad. So I really might be switching over to that, but we'll see. But there's a lot of people that just aren't playing into the Maxi, but if they have to, like, it's just a turn skip, right? Which is really good. I really do like double chicken game, and then we have like the triple upstart, which is just pretty insane, of course, just being able to get as much draw power. So you see how this deck is like mostly spells. It's because no matter what I go up against going second, I want to make sure I open a handful of spells in like a Ray or a Rose and just crack the board and go ahead and summon out my monster and just try to like push for as much as I can, you know? As for the extra deck, though, we have like the one Kagari. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. I play Double Zeke. Double Zeke comes up a ton. I've wanted to play this in this TCG for a long time, but I never really had the room. But the fact that we can play this in the Master Duel is really fun. Honestly, Double Zeke is insane, and nobody expects it. The Amblow Whale, of course, very cracked card. Very, very good. If you have any questions about the list, definitely let me know down in the comments below. This is something that I just feel very comfortable with right now. There probably are some cards you just don't see in here that you're like, I'm curious on why I don't play that. Things like Droplet. I don't play a lot of monsters. I don't really feel like Droplet's that valuable when you aren't playing a lot of monsters, because if you're playing things like Chalice, it's just a very quick 1-for-1, especially in the damage step. Just being able to get that 1-for-1 trade off of a card feels very clean. And sometimes you just need it really fast for like spell count, right? So it's very, very good. As for my going first list, though, I went for a classic with Card Demise, because, you know, it's always very solid. Usually you don't play hand traps with this, but it's Maxi. So, I mean, like, hey, you know, how bad could it be? So I really like that too, because also you got to think about it, that Maxi can be activated at any point in a turn. So like you can just like drop it if you open up your Card Demise, so it doesn't really matter. So I really do like this in the deck. It definitely is worth it. The other thing that is at 3 in this game, it's crazy. It's Kaiser Coliseum. The amount of people who just scoop when you go Shizuku Kaiser, like they cannot clear it, which is kind of crazy. Kaiser Coliseum at 3 is one of the most toxic things I've ever seen in my life. The fact that it's really, really great in Striker, I highly recommend you play it. It's really, really good. It's just something that I just did not expect to be in this game at 3. It's kind of broken. Then, of course, Takeabu, because it's just insane. And then triple upstart because, you know, 37 card deck, nuts. And then the extra deck just doesn't change because I prefer it to be pretty similar. So, again, if there's anything else that you really want to know about the deck, or if there's something that you are still confused on, definitely let me know down in the comments below, because there's a lot of different ways to go about using Kagari's effect the most efficient. Usually, you just want to commit to the board when you're feeling very safe that you have the ability to use her effect fully, especially getting that booster in hand before you summon her to making sure that that does go off. So that's just another thing to keep in the back of your mind as well. So if you do need a coaching session, definitely let me know. You can go ahead and PM me on Discord, or you can PM me on Metafy as well. Definitely feel free to ask me about any lessons you might be confused on, or if there are things you want to switch around, definitely let me know about that as well. You guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and my Discord is all in the link in the description below. I hope this video did help you, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful night, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you very much.